Walking away is not weakness. It is the loudest declaration of self-worth. When you choose distance over disrespect, you shift your energy, your value rises, and people feel the loss of what they took for granted. Walking away transforms you, makes you magnetic, and attracts what finally matches your strength. Walking away is one of the most profound expressions of self-respect a person can ever embody. It is not an act of arrogance, revenge, or ego. It is the moment you choose your peace over the chaos someone brings into your life. It is the moment you stop negotiating your worth, stop shrinking yourself to fit into spaces that no longer honor you, and stop begging for the bare minimum from people who are never willing to give you their best. Walking away is powerful because it requires strength, emotional discipline, and the courage to let go of what you wanted in order to protect what you deserve. When you walk away, you are not running from something. You are returning to yourself. You are saying, I know who I am, and I refuse to stay where I'm not valued. Most people stay too long in situations that drain them because they fear loss, abandonment, or loneliness. But walking away is not about losing, it's about choosing. Choosing yourself, choosing your sanity, choosing your future over someone's temporary comfort. It is the moment you stop trying to convince someone of your worth and start embodying it instead. People often misunderstand quiet exits. They think silence means you had nothing left to say. In reality, silence means you finally realize that words won't fix what actions have already revealed. Your absence becomes the message, your distance becomes the consequence, and your self-respect becomes the lesson they never expected to learn. When you walk away, you stop participating in your own heartbreak. You stop contributing to your own disappointment. You stop hoping someone will change when they've already shown you who they are. Walking away is not a punishment to them. It is a gift to yourself, a gift that frees your mind from confusion, frees your heart from emotional starvation, and frees your soul from the weight of trying to make something work that was never meant to in the first place. You reclaim the power you gave away. You reclaim the confidence you lost. You reclaim the identity you blurred for the sake of someone else's comfort. And the most beautiful part, walking away doesn't just protect your dignity, it elevates it. It changes the way you carry yourself, speak to yourself, and believe in yourself. It teaches you that love without effort is not love, attention without consistency is manipulation, and presence without respect is simply an illusion of connection. Walking away reminds you that you deserve reciprocity, honesty, and peace, not crumbs disguised as affection. It is in letting go that you rise. It is in stepping back that you finally see clearly. And it is in choosing yourself that you discover the kind of strength that cannot be taken from you. Walking away is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of your healing, your growth, and your rebirth. It is the ultimate act of self-respect because it honors your worth even when someone else didn't. Distance has a way of exposing what words and promises often hide. When you step back from someone, whether emotionally, mentally, or physically, you finally see the truth with a clarity that closeness never allowed. Distance removes the noise, the excuses, the emotional fog that kept you hoping, trying, and giving more than you ever received. It pulls you out of the cycle of over-explaining, over-justifying, and over-loving, and brings you back to a place where you can finally see things for what they are, not what you wished they would be. When you create distance, you learn very quickly who was genuinely there for you and who was only there for what you could offer. People who truly care will feel your absence and step forward. They will reach out, make an effort, and try to understand what went wrong. But those who only valued your presence when it was convenient for them will simply fade away. Their silence becomes the answer you are always searching for. Their lack of effort becomes the truth you refuse to accept. Distance reveals who was invested in you and who was only invested in your availability. Sometimes when you are too close to someone, you overlook things you shouldn't. You forgive too quickly. You excuse behavior that hurt you. You ignore the red flags because your heart wants to believe in the best version of them. But distance breaks that spell. It shows you the patterns you ignored, the inconsistencies you accepted, and the emotional labor you kept pouring into someone who gave you so little in return. It separates emotion from reality, and in that separation, truth becomes impossible to avoid. Distance also forces the other person to face their own truth. When you're always there, always trying, always reaching out first, they never have to confront the consequences of their actions. They feel safe in your consistency. But when you step away, they must finally sit with the emptiness your presence used to fill. They must face the reality of what life looks like without your effort, your care, your support, and your loyalty. And in that space, you see their true character, not in how they act when you're close, but in how they respond when you're gone. Some people will chase you, some will reflect and grow. Others will pretend nothing happened, revealing exactly how little your presence ever meant to them. Distance brings out everyone's motives in their purest form. It shows you who misses you, who replaces you, and who never really saw your value until they couldn't access it anymore. And sometimes the saddest truth is realizing that the person you were fighting for was never fighting for you. But distance is not meant to break you. It is meant to wake you. It helps you remember your worth, clear your mind, and regain your emotional balance. It gives you perspective, strength, and the wisdom to choose better moving forward. In the space you create, you discover the truth about others. But more importantly, you discover the truth about yourself, what you deserve, what you will no longer tolerate, and what kind of love you are no longer willing to beg for. Energy is the language that never lies. Long before a person speaks, their energy tells you everything you need to know. You can feel someone's intentions, their sincerity, their interest, and their respect without a single word being exchanged. And when something feels off, you feel that too. Energy exposes truth quietly, consistently, and without effort. Words can be rehearsed, manipulated, or used to deceive, but energy is raw, honest, and impossible to hide. That is why the way someone makes you feel is far more important than what they tell you. When someone's energy is aligned with their actions, you feel safe, you feel valued, you feel seen. Their presence brings clarity instead of confusion, warmth instead of anxiety. But when someone's words promise love while their energy feels distant, dismissive, or indifferent, you sense the mismatch immediately. It's that heaviness in your chest, that little voice telling you something isn't right, that emotional discomfort you keep ignoring because you want their words to be true. But your body doesn't lie. Your intuition doesn't lie. Your emotional response to someone's energy is often the truth you are afraid to accept. Energy also speaks through effort. People who care don't just say they care, they show up with consistency. They communicate with intention. They give without being asked. They make time, not excuses. Their energy makes you feel chosen, not tolerated. But someone whose energy is detached will make you feel like you are bothering them even when they never say it directly. They will keep you guessing, keep you hoping, keep you confused, because their words keep you close, but their energy pushes you away. And your own energy speaks too. When you are desperate, chasing, or trying too hard to prove your worth, your energy reflects insecurity. People can sense when you are afraid to lose them, and some take advantage of that. They offer the bare minimum because they know you'll settle for it. But when your energy shifts, when you stand in your worth, stop overgiving and pull back from what drains you, your presence begins to command respect without you saying a word. You become calm, confident, and self-assured. You stop explaining yourself and start expressing yourself. You stop begging for love and start requiring it. Your energy becomes your boundary. It tells people what you accept, what you reject, and what you will no longer entertain. You stop arguing with someone's words and start paying attention to their patterns. You stop trying to decode mixed signals and let their behavior speak for itself. You stop waiting for someone to change and start allowing distance to reveal their truth. Energy is magnetic. When you are aligned with yourself, you attract people who recognize your value. When you carry peace, you attract peaceful connections. When you carry self-respect, you attract respect. And when you walk away from anything that disturbs your energy, you become more powerful, more attractive, and more in control of your life. In the end, it is not what you say nor what they say that determines the truth. It is the energy exchanged, the emotions felt, and the unspoken language between souls. And that language never lies. Attachment is a subtle form of imprisonment. It convinces you that your happiness, your peace, and even your self-worth depend on someone else's presence, actions, or approval. The more attached you become, the less power you hold over your own life. You trade freedom for longing, strength for dependence, and clarity for emotional chaos. Attachment clouds judgment, distorts reality, and keeps you trapped in cycles of hope and disappointment. When you are attached, you are constantly negotiating your value, overthinking every interaction, and bending yourself in ways that leave you smaller than you were meant to be. Attachment makes you powerless because it shifts control from you to someone else. Your emotions start to revolve around their behavior, their moods, and their decisions. You spend your energy trying to secure their attention, love, or loyalty instead of nurturing yourself. You hope for their validation, wait for their gestures, and silently count the moments they ignore you. And in doing so, you surrender your power, allowing someone else's inconsistency to dictate your inner peace. You give away the very thing that makes you strong, your ability to choose, to walk away, to honor your own worth. The danger of attachment is that it blurs your perception. You start to justify what hurts you, excuse what diminishes you, and forgive what disrespects you. You become blind to your own needs, your own boundaries, and your own growth. Attachment convinces you that discomfort is love, neglect is normal, and imbalance is acceptable. And while you cling, hoping things will change, your power slowly erodes. You forget that love, attention, and respect are meant to flow naturally, not be begged for or extracted with effort. Attachment also traps you in a cycle of fear of losing them, fear of being alone, fear that life cannot continue without their presence. That fear is a silent thief, stealing your confidence, your joy, and your ability to act decisively. Instead of living fully in the present, you constantly project into the future. What if they leave? What if they don't care? What if you are not enough? And while your mind races, your heart feels trapped, leaving no space for freedom, clarity, or authentic connection. Letting go of attachment restores your power. It reminds you that your value is inherent and not dependent on anyone else's recognition. It allows you to step back and observe relationships without desperation, without compromise of your peace. When you release attachment, you stop over-investing in people who drain you and start investing in yourself. You regain control over your emotions, your choices, and your energy. You discover that love, respect, and care are given freely, not demanded, and that the people who truly deserve a place in your life will meet you with effort, consistency, and alignment. Attachment makes you powerless, but detachment makes you free. Freedom does not mean indifference. It means choosing your well-being over temporary comfort, clarity over confusion, and self-respect over unreciprocated effort. When you release attachment, you reclaim your power, restore your dignity, and create space for relationships that elevate rather than diminish you. It is in detachment that you realize you were never truly powerless. You only thought you were until you remembered who you are and what you deserve. There is a truth in life that people often overlook. Scarcity breeds value. What is easily accessible is taken for granted. When someone is always present, always available, and always accommodating, their worth is often underestimated. People tend to equate availability with obligation, consistency with entitlement, and love with inevitability. They fail to recognize the effort, the patience, and the commitment behind someone who quietly gives without expecting anything in return. But when someone steps back, becomes less available, or chooses themselves over constant giving, their value becomes undeniable. It is in absence, in restraint, and in the subtle distance that people finally realize what they had all along. Being too accessible diminishes your presence. It conditions others to expect your attention without appreciating it. They start to normalize your sacrifices, overlook your efforts, and underestimate your heart. Your time, energy, and love become taken for granted because they never have to fight for it. And as long as it is easy to reach you, as long as your attention is guaranteed, the significance of your presence fades. Scarcity, however, flips the equation. It introduces awareness. It forces reflection. It demands recognition. When you become less accessible, you create space for appreciation to grow because now your absence is felt and your presence is understood as valuable. People often only realize the depth of what they've lost when it is no longer within easy reach. When your time is not guaranteed, your attention not freely given, and your energy not endlessly available, they are forced to notice the void. And in that void, they see your worth in ways they never did before. Your patience, your loyalty, and your love become treasures precisely because they are not infinite, because they cannot be taken for granted. The simple act of not being constantly available forces people to reevaluate their priorities and confront the truth about what they truly value. This principle does not mean playing games or manipulating others. It means respecting yourself enough to set boundaries, to guard your energy, and to recognize that your presence is not an obligation. It means understanding that people who truly care will rise to meet you, not simply coast in the comfort of guaranteed access. Being less accessible is not about arrogance or detachment. It is about creating a reality where your worth cannot be ignored. It is about being intentional with your time and energy, knowing that the right people will recognize it and the wrong ones will reveal themselves through neglect or indifference. When you stop being easily available, you stop participating in your own devaluation. You stop giving freely to those who will not honor your effort. You start prioritizing yourself, your peace, and your growth. And in doing so, you attract people who understand, respect, and cherish your presence. The rare becomes treasured, the deliberate becomes appreciated, and the valued becomes unforgettable. What is not easily accessible is always more deeply noticed, more profoundly respected, and more genuinely loved. Scarcity, when rooted in self-respect, transforms the way others perceive you. It turns presence into privilege, attention into honor, and love into something truly meaningful. Walking away is one of the most healing choices you can make for yourself. It is not a sign of weakness, surrender, or defeat. It is an act of courage and self-preservation. There comes a point when staying in a situation, a relationship, or a connection that drains you does nothing but prolong your pain. You try to fix what cannot be fixed, hope for what will never come, and give more than you receive, all while slowly losing yourself. Walking away interrupts that cycle. It allows you to step out of the chaos, to reclaim your mind, your heart, and your peace, and to begin the slow, steady work of healing. Healing begins the moment you stop trying to force someone to meet you where they are unwilling to go. Walking away teaches you that your happiness is not dependent on someone else's effort, attention, or validation. It is dependent on your willingness to protect yourself and honor your own needs. For too long, you may have tolerated disrespect, neglect, or emotional scarcity, convincing yourself that love or acceptance would eventually come. But walking away is the first step toward realizing that love, respect, and care must come freely. And if they do not, you owe it to yourself to remove yourself from the situation entirely. When you walk away, you create space for clarity. Distance allows you to see the truth of what was, what you endured, and what you are truly capable of. It brings perspective on the patterns you overlooked, the compromises you made, and the emotional labor you carried alone. Walking away is not forgetting or denying your emotions. It is acknowledging them fully and choosing to prioritize your own well-being over attachment to something that no longer serves you. It is a way of telling yourself that your heart deserves safety, your mind deserves peace, and your soul deserves freedom. Walking away also gives you the opportunity to rediscover yourself. In situations of imbalance, it is easy to lose sight of who you are and what you value. You may have molded yourself to fit someone else's expectations, silenced your voice to avoid conflict, or ignored your instincts to maintain the connection. When you step away, you remove those external pressures and return to your authentic self. You reconnect with your desires, your goals, and your worth. You remember that you are complete without anyone else's approval or affection, and that your sense of self cannot be dictated by someone else's inconsistency. The healing power of walking away is subtle but transformative. It allows wounds to begin closing, lessons to be learned, and strength to grow in places you didn't realize were weakened. You learn patience with yourself, compassion for your own journey, and clarity about what you will no longer tolerate. You begin to trust yourself again, to trust your instincts, your decisions, and your capacity to create boundaries that protect your emotional health. Walking away is not an end, it is a beginning. It is the first step in breaking free from patterns that no longer serve you and in stepping into a life that honors your worth, restores your peace, and opens the door to love and connections that truly align with who you are. Your standards are more than just rules or boundaries. They are the reflection of your self-respect, your values, and the love you have for yourself. When you hold yourself to a higher standard, you communicate something powerful without even speaking, that you know your worth and you will not settle for anything less. Standards are not about being difficult or unkind. They are about clarity, integrity, and the refusal to compromise your peace or dignity for temporary comfort or validation. The energy you carry when you live by your standards is magnetic, and it attracts exactly the type of people and opportunities that align with the life you deserve. Many people make the mistake of lowering their standards in the hope of keeping someone or something in their lives. They tolerate behavior that hurts them, excuses that confuse them, and inconsistency that drains them. They convince themselves that love, attention, or success must come with compromise, and in doing so, they quietly devalue themselves. But when you uphold your standards, you no longer negotiate your worth. You no longer over-explain, overgive, or overcompensate. You stand firmly in what you believe is acceptable for your life and your heart, and in that firmness, you radiate an energy that cannot be ignored. Standards become attraction because they signal strength. When you refuse to settle for disrespect, inconsistency, or neglect, people notice. They feel the confidence in your presence, the calm in your boundaries, and the clarity in your choices. You no longer chase or beg for validation. Instead, you create a space where only those willing to meet your expectations can enter. This energy draws the right people towards you while naturally repelling those who are not ready, capable, or deserving of your time, attention, and care. It is not about scarcity. It is about alignment. People are drawn to strength, clarity, and self-respect because these qualities are rare, powerful, and undeniable. Your standards also shape the way you experience life. When you refuse to accept less than what you deserve, you attract experiences that reflect your true value. Relationships become balanced, interactions become meaningful, and opportunities become enriching. You no longer waste energy trying to fit into situations that diminish you because your standards act as a filter, allowing only what elevates you to stay. You learn that it is not the effort you put in that determines your worth, it is the energy you allow into your life. The most beautiful aspect of maintaining your standards is that it transforms you from within. You become self-assured, independent, and emotionally resilient. You develop a clarity that cuts through confusion, a confidence that silences doubt, and a magnetism that draws people to you naturally. Your standards teach others how to treat you, but more importantly, they teach you how to honor yourself. And when you live by them unapologetically, you become a force of attraction, not because of what you do or say, but because of the energy you carry, the energy of someone who knows exactly who they are and refuses to settle for anything less than they deserve. Walking away is more than a physical act. It is a transformative journey that reshapes your mind, heart, and soul. It is a decision that begins quietly, often with an internal acknowledgement that what you are holding on to no longer serves your well-being. Walking away requires courage because it means leaving behind the familiar, the comfortable, and sometimes even the person or situation you wished could be different. Yet it is precisely in this act of stepping away that transformation begins. When you choose yourself over attachment, clarity over confusion, and peace over chaos, you open the door to a version of yourself that was waiting to emerge. Walking away forces you to confront your own value. Too often, people stay in situations that diminish them because they are afraid of loss, loneliness, or change. They negotiate their worth, sacrifice their peace, and endure what they should never have tolerated. But when you walk away, you reclaim the power that was lost to fear and dependency. You remind yourself that your presence is not a bargaining chip and that your love, energy, and attention are not obligations to be taken for granted. This reclamation of self-worth is the first step in transformation because you begin to see yourself not through the lens of someone else's expectations, but through your own standards of dignity and respect. Walking away also teaches emotional independence. In relationships or situations where you have invested heavily, it is easy to allow your happiness to hinge on the actions or approval of another. You give too much, hope too much, and bend too far in order to maintain a connection that may never be balanced. Walking away shifts the focus back to you. It reminds you that your peace, your growth, and your joy are your responsibility and no one else's. It creates space for you to heal, reflect, and reconnect with your own desires, goals, and dreams. In that space, you begin to understand that life is not about forcing people or circumstances to fit your narrative. It is about aligning yourself with what serves your highest good. The transformation that comes from walking away is also spiritual and emotional. You learn resilience through letting go, patience through acceptance, and clarity through distance. You discover that pain is temporary, that loss can lead to growth, and that endings are often beginnings in disguise. Walking away teaches you to trust yourself, to honor your instincts, and to cultivate boundaries that protect your energy. It shifts your mindset from scarcity to abundance, from fear to faith, and from dependency to self-reliance. Finally, walking away transforms the way others see you. When you choose to leave what no longer serves you, your presence becomes intentional, your absence meaningful, and your energy magnetic. People notice the strength, calm, and self-assurance that emanates from someone who no longer clings to what is undeserving. Walking away is not a rejection of the world. It is a declaration of your value. It is a transformation that silently communicates. You will no longer compromise your peace, diminish your worth, or settle for less than you deserve. In that choice, you become a new version of yourself, stronger, wiser, and unstoppable. In the end, walking away is not an act of giving up. It is an act of rising. It is a journey of self-respect, clarity, and emotional strength that transforms not only how others see you, but how you see yourself. By choosing your peace over chaos, your worth over neglect, and your standards over compromise, you reclaim the power that was always yours. Walking away heals the heart, sharpens the mind, and elevates your energy, showing that true attraction is born from self-respect and authenticity. It is in letting go that you find freedom, in detachment that you find strength, and in choosing yourself that you discover the life, love, and happiness you truly deserve.